I've got here the Evercross EK6. It is a folding bike. It has mag wheels. It's got mechanical disc brakes. It's got a suspension seat post actually. And overall, you probably think it looks like an ordinary e-bike, and it is, aside from the price. They currently have these on sale. It says retail $999, which would be a very affordable e-bike, but right now the sale says they're actually like 750 bucks, which is really cheap if it's any good. So let's give it a run on the dyno, see what the power looks like, and then take it outside for a spin and see what do you get for $750 on Amazon. Nice low step through here. I think there's probably an on switch on the battery. So this is a 48 volt, 15 amp hour battery. So despite the low price, that's actually pretty good capacity. That's good for easy 20, 30 miles. And then they're also claiming this is a 750 watt bike. Let's see if we get 750 watts out of it. In 3, 2, 1. It feels pretty good. I bet that's gonna do 750. But that torque actually felt pretty good. I'm really gonna have to tighten up those bars though. They're wiggling. And that's not too bad. 832 watts, 23.76 foot-pounds of torque. So it works as advertised, a little bit better. So that's gonna put it right here, just a step above a Ride 1-Up Portola. It's above the Cyclon, above the Rad Power bikes, and just below, funny enough, the Jan Snow X70, which is also a bike that is mainly sold on Amazon. So although that is down at the very bottom of the pack, if you were to compare this bike as far as dollars per watt, it performs pretty good. So it does have at least the advertised 750 watts, and it does go at least the advertised 20 miles an hour. I'm hitting the cutoff speed, and I can actually feel it hit the speed limit on the upper end and then kind of slow down. So there's more power in this motor. So if it's possible to unlock it through the display, I haven't messed around, it probably would do like 23, 24, 25. I can tell there's a little bit more in there. But that is the legal limit for a Class 2 bike with a throttle, so I'm gonna leave it alone. Said it's a 48 volt, 15 amp hour. That's pretty decent capacity. If I was to divide motors and motor controllers into two camps, where one is bikes that are set up with a very slow, like soft start that eases the power on, and another that just kind of lets all the power out and lets you accelerate quickly. Coming to a complete stop here. Then this one is probably the latter. I mean, that may not seem like that fast taking off from a stop, but you know, the torque isn't the highest on this. But if I'm kind of cruising along at, say, 10 miles an hour and I hit the throttle, you feel that motor just kind of give you a little lurch and just start going quickly. So I'll find out on the hills here how well it can kind of sustain that kind of power. But it feels pretty good on flat ground. Now this is a folding bike, so it is really compact. It's very upright. The handlebars are really narrow, which if you're not used to narrow handlebars like this, it might actually feel kind of squirrely. I've described some 20-inch fat tire bikes as being squirrely and, you know, not the most stable. And this one fits into that category. It's not unstable like I'm gonna crash or anything. It just turns very quickly. Some people don't notice it, some people really don't like it. So here's a nice little grade, pretty steady uphill, just throttling, no pedaling. And I'm still doing 18 miles an hour. Now to 17. That wasn't bad. That cruised up that hill pretty easily. The backside is the steeper section. We'll see how much it slows down there. And now we're gonna see how it does at high speed. Well, that's interesting. I don't think I've ever seen that before. Usually bikes will limit you to 20 miles an hour with the throttle, but this one, the speedometer itself just doesn't go past 20. It goes up to 19.9, and then I was going faster than that, and it wouldn't read any faster. It just said 19.9, even though I was probably doing 25 to 30. And to be honest, that's probably about as fast as I would want to go on this bike. It's using some generic mechanical calipers. The pads don't really have any bite to them yet. They also could use some adjustment out of the box. All right, let's see how this hill goes up the other way. 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 12, 10. That's not a countdown, that's just the miles per hour. 7, and slowed down to about 7 miles an hour. That's not terrible. That's where that little 20-inch wheel is actually helpful. Gives it some torque. I pointed out that the seat post has some suspension. That actually works pretty good. A little bit of a cushion there. And the saddle is a big, thick, comfy saddle too. Ugh. Glad I stood up for that bump though. The front shock is pretty firm actually. Like that would be pretty hard to bottom out, so that's actually good. Definitely not an off-road bike. It would not be very confidence-inspiring, let's put it that way. I'm gonna give the brakes a few more hard stops, see if that helps them. I mean, they do stop the bike. You just have to give it a good squeeze. That's something I think that's worth talking about is, you know, how does the bike show up? And the truth is, it wasn't adjusted terribly well. So if you're gonna buy a bike like this, be prepared to have to adjust the brakes out of the box, adjust the derailleur out of the box. All of those things needed some tweaking. And then you're gonna wanna go through and kind of check all the other nuts and bolts and things as well. And that is something you should do on realistically any bike that you order online from anywhere. But I'd be more cautious about one like this only because most of that stuff wasn't adjusted very well on this one. So some basic bike maintenance, bike safety stuff would be good stuff to know. If you don't know anything about adjusting brakes or derailleurs, I would recommend finding a friend or a mechanic or somebody who's willing to give this thing kind of a once-over when you pull it out of the box. But if you're willing to do some of that stuff to save some money, because let's face it, it is a $750 e-bike, then go for it. I used to buy bikes online all the time, and some from local bike shops. It just depends on you, your budget, what you're comfortable with. So far, I've got a few good things and a few bad things about the bike. It's kind of a mixed bag here. I think for the price, it's priced right. The good things would be that the saddle is big and cushy and it's got suspension on it. That's kind of a nice little plus that didn't even need to be there, but it's there. The motor seems to be performing well. Here's a close-up on these mechanical calipers that are installed. These could definitely be better. They're gonna work just fine if you have them adjusted well. That's my main thing. And to be honest, that's true with any mechanical disc brake. If they're not adjusted well, they're not gonna stop well. So if there's one thing out of the box that you check, it is, well, I'm gonna have to say two things. One, make sure your wheels are bolted on. That's like number one. Two, make sure your brakes are adjusted well so you can stop properly. I don't know if anyone else has this. Maybe it's just me because I ride too many bikes and think about bikes too much, but every once in a while I have this like recurring dream or nightmare where I'm on like a bicycle or a motorcycle and I'm going fast and my brakes don't work. They're always just super mushy and I just can't stop for the life of me. So I'm going around turns and blowing through stop signs and my brakes just don't work. So don't do that in real life. Now, some things I think that could be way better. This piece right here, I'm not super in love with. In fact, I don't like it at all. If the Evercross team is watching, if there's one thing I think you should change on the bike, it is this piece. The quality just isn't very good. I just have to say it. I've seen a lot of folding bikes, and this section is just kind of poorly made. It's really hard to get this top clamp tight, and even if you do get it tight, if I grab onto the wheel here and I grab onto both hands with the handlebars, I can move the bars, I can twist them just slightly. It can wiggle the bars side to side without the wheel moving. Like that's just not good quality right there. Coming over to the rest of the handlebars, we've got a black and white display. We have our speed reading, which, like I said, really weird that it doesn't go over 20 miles an hour, even if you're going faster than that. Not a big deal, just kind of unusual. 3 levels of assist, and I don't actually have any complaints about the assist or the throttle. Those seem to work pretty smooth. It is going to be a cadence sensor. I wouldn't expect anything different on a bike at this price. Trip meter, odometer. We've even got battery voltage on here. It's got everything you really need. Bike has a headlight, and there we go. Just turn it on with the plus button, and it looks pretty bright actually. And surprisingly, for a bike this cheap, you've got a working taillight as well. It even is a brake light. Cool that we're seeing that as a pretty standard thing on bikes now at just about any price point, it seems like. The tires look like a pretty decent quality. It's kind of weird that these are, what are these? These look just like a Chow Yang tire, but they don't have the Chow Yang brand name on them. That's unusual. I don't know who makes these tires. I can't comment on how long they're gonna last. I know this tread pattern generally works pretty well. Now the wheels are these like cast, solid piece wheels. My opinion on these wheels is always the same. They look great. I think those kinds of wheels actually look really cool, but they're always really heavy. They add a lot of unnecessary weight to a bike. But on the flip side, I've never seen one break. If someone has, let me know and I'll change my opinion about that. But they seem like they're really sturdy, and you don't have little spokes to adjust now and then. They're just really solid from all the ones I've ever seen. So downside is weight, plus side is low maintenance and good looks. And I think I skipped over the shifter, but it's using a 7-speed Shimano, so you're getting name brand parts there, both on the handlebars and the derailleur itself. Wait a second here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that is strange. Maybe there is another bike expert that can comment on this. This is a 7-speed. So if we look up on the handlebars, that is a 7-speed shifter. If we come down here, this is a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7-speed. But if I look at the derailleur itself, it only says 6-speed. Now, I'm not sure what the difference actually is between a 6-speed and a 7-speed derailleur, other than the range they can move to back and forth. And I know for a fact I've seen derailleurs from Shimano that say 6/7-speed. So there are derailleurs that can work with both. I think there's some that say 7/8 as well. I think that's a thing. I've never seen ever a 6-speed derailleur set up with all 7-speed parts. And I only bring this up because I've never seen it before, and my mechanic at the shop that set the bike up for me and took it out of the box, he said he was having trouble adjusting the derailleur. Now, I tweaked it a little bit before I got on the bike, and I got it to where it seems to be shifting fine and smoothly, but maybe that has something to do with it. I don't know, tell me in the comments. Have you guys seen that before? Is there a difference between an actual 6-speed or a 7-speed derailleur, specifically the Shimano Tourney? I don't know. Now the seat post that's on here is one of these folding styles. You have a little latch you push right there, it folds forward so you can unlock the battery, slide it right out. That feels nice and sturdy. I'm not a fan of this older style of seat post clamp, but as long as they're tightened down properly, they work just fine. And this one does seem to be working just fine. Overall, I guess I'm gonna have to say the frame doesn't look half bad. I've reviewed some other bikes that are primarily sold on Amazon that are like under $1,000, and the frames look really cheap, like bad welding, bad paint. And this one isn't perfect. Like, that paint's laid on there kind of thick in that spot, and you know, these welds aren't like seamless like some more expensive bikes. But overall, it doesn't look bad. Tiny bit of weld splatter right there, but nothing too major. I've seen much worse. And of course, the big benefit of this bike is that it folds, or it should be one of the big benefits. So let's see if it actually folds up as it's supposed to. And there we go. That is about as compact as the bike gets. If you need a little bit more room, you could pop the saddle out. Of course, if you're gonna pick it up like this, I'd also remove the battery. That's gonna make it a lot lighter. But all the folding parts of the bike seem to work. Yeah, a little stiff maybe. So there we have it, the Evercross EK6. Like I said, you can buy these things on Amazon. Oh, see, there's another thing I'm gonna have to check. It looks like my brake cable has actually been rubbing on my wheel this whole time. I just noticed that just now. Would you buy a bike like this? I say, you be the judge. I'm just gonna give you the information and the specifications, the quality as I see it. I'll put a link in the description where you can get one of these if you want one. If you need an e-bike that is really affordable and you don't mind doing a little bit of tightening up and maintenance yourself, maybe it's worth a shot. And this is not the only bike I've got from Evercross. They actually sent me 2 of them. So once I have the second video live, I'm gonna put that one right here.